Doesn't matter. You got to be a problem solver. And a problem solver always thinks about the root causes. It needs to get to the root causes of whatever is ailing whatever side of the business that you're in. And you can't just take surface level. So this is true in tech, this is true in all of them. And then so you got to be, first and foremost, you got to have that mentality that you got to be a problem solver and get to the root of the problem.
Welcome to the Leader's Mindset, where we bring you conversations with leaders who are making an impact in business and our communities. Today, I'm here with Alykhan Jetha. He goes by AJ, and he's the president and CEO of Marketcircle. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's really a pleasure. I was excited when you reached out and wanted to be on the show. So now you're in Toronto.
That's right.
And you've had quite a journey to get there. So tell us a little bit about your story of coming to Canada as a young child.
Yeah, so I was born in the Congo, in the heart of darkness. You may have read that book. Anyways, I was born there, and we got expelled from there when I was about 5 years old. Expelled meaning that they decided, even though I was born there, my parents were there for a really long time. My father was born in Uganda. My mom was born in Kenya, so they're from Africa. And they decided that based on the color of our skin, that they didn't want us in the country anymore, and so we got expelled, and we ended up luckily in Canada, and here in Toronto actually. And a little bit after we got here, about 2 weeks after we got here, my father unfortunately passed away from a heart attack. I guess all the stress and all that kind of stuff of relocating your family, not knowing what's going to happen or anything like that. And so, so then I grew up here. I did go back. They did let us back in after they realized their mistakes. But then it was like we were there for a few years and then we, came back. So that's how I got here to Toronto, Canada.
Yeah. And so you had this kind of back and forth tale. You came back, you kind of came back to live with your sister for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, so what happened was when we got here, after my father passed away, it was myself and my mom and my two sisters. And after a few years, my mom was having a hard go at making things work here, and so there was the opportunity to go back and kind of do business over there. And so she took the opportunity. So her and I went back, and my two sisters remained here. And after a while of being there for a few years, my eldest sister got married. So my mom decided, well, hey, your middle sister needs company, or I don't want her to be alone, so you're gonna go. And here I am, 12 years old, and I'm gonna go and watch my sister. But that's not how it worked out. It turned out that she became my guardian. Actually, I found documents really recently where she signed at the age of 18. To be my official guardian. And so her and I lived together for a number of years, and we kind of struggled together, and we grew up. That was the iron pot that I grew up in.
And did your mom ever come back to join you?
Yeah, so she came back in 1991 when there was another political event in the country, and out of safety. It wasn't that she got expelled or anything. It was more out of safety that she left and went to Kenya for a little while, just thinking that she'll go back. And then it was like, it's not safe, like physically safe. So then she decided to come back to Canada.
Yeah,
and we could welcome her.
Unfortunately, it's a story that's all too common in the world of what your family went through. And I'm glad you made it to Canada. I'm glad you have had success as an entrepreneur. Has entrepreneurship always been in your family? So
my great grandfather was my grandfather, not my great grandfather. My grandfather was entrepreneur and had a business, and back in those days, and it was based out of Uganda. And back in those days, the way you expanded your business is you had more children, and then you ship them off to various parts to expand your business empire. And that's exactly what he did. So my father was one of the younger sons, and he was shipped off to the Congo where I was born, and he was tending. I think there were three things there: a parts store, a gas station, and a plantation. Those three things. And so those were the businesses that he was helping run, and we were there to do that. And then other brothers, his other brothers were in different parts of either Uganda or the Congo, or I don't know what other countries, Rwanda, I believe.
Yeah, so for all you kids, it's not just North America. People's parents everywhere make them work in the family business.
That's right. That's right.
So you're in Toronto now. You've been in tech for a long time. You've had your company for a long time. It's been through a couple different changes and iterations. Tell us about Marketcircle and what is Daylight?
So Daylight is the application we currently make and sell as software as a service, and it is a combination of a CRM and productivity tool combined, catered specifically to businesses 1 to 100 in size, and typically businesses that either sell time or their expertise. And we cater also to the Apple ecosystem. So we're native apps, we synchronize in the background and so forth. It's multi-user and all that jazz. And so that's the application that we have. It's a software as a service now. You download the application, you use it locally, and then in the background in the cloud, we manage all the synchronization and all, REST APIs and whatnot. And it didn't start this way. It started as a completely different thing, this business, and I've had to pivot like some 4 times to get to where I am now. And Lord knows how many other pivots will come down the way.
Well, that's a universal truth in tech, is that there's always going to be a pivot. You just you have to figure out what it needs to be, right?
That's right. That's right. It's always changing and changing fast. It's never boring.
So what did the company start out as, and what were some of the big pivots you found that you had to make along the way?
So I started out as a .com. So, I'm really aging myself here. And it was a negotiation website where, so what happened was I was watching this one show, and they were featuring eBay. And I'm like, having seen business back in Africa and looking, always keeping an eye on how businesses work. Well, how many people actually, do auctions? It's more like, you negotiate, right? You have something to sell. Somebody wants to buy it. They have a price in mind. You have a price in mind. You go back and forth, you negotiate, and then you close the deal. And so I built a website around that idea where you could put something up for sale. You have an asking price, and then people can come and counter offer. And I raised a little bit of friends and family money. We built a prototype. It was fully functional. I had transactions happening, and then just small ones, but I had them happening. It wasn't like it was just an idea. It was actually functional. And so then I went to raise some money to go to the next level. And I went through various VCs and whatnot, smaller ones, then bigger ones, and then I finally got to the really, really, really big ones in San Francisco. And I was meant to do a presentation, a 15-minute presentation, at least the opener presentation kind of thing, to the individual that was going to make this decision based on his decision, a bunch of other people that led me to him would also contribute to the pot. But when I got there, he was, there's the boardroom, and there's a glass wall, and there's his office. And he was just livid. I was on the phone, and he was yelling. I couldn't hear anything because of the wall, but I could see, right? And he was, beet red. So he slams the phone down. He comes outside of his office, kitty corner, into the boardroom, and says, "You have 1 minute." So I thought I had at least 15 minutes, right? So I was like, and then while I was stumbling and whatnot, the receptionist kind of knocked on the door again, on the window actually, and he went to her and says, "Okay, I'll be right back." And he goes back, picks up the phone, and he's like, again, super animated and livid. Again, I couldn't hear anything again. Comes back out and goes, "You're out." Right. So I didn't actually, get to do my presentation or anything like that. And that was May of 2000, which is when the dot-com bubble burst. Right. So I was there a little late. And so now it came back, and it was like a choice was, okay, what do I do here? Do I close up shop? Or do I do something and pay back the friends and family that loaned me the money to start the business? And so we decided that, what we'll do, we'll pivot to consulting, because that is what I did before, and repay those people back. And so that's exactly what we did. We did some consulting work for a number of years. And so that was, our second pivot, our first pivot, I guess. And while we were doing the consulting work, it was like, okay, I was losing track of deals because I was also, working and coding as well as being the sales guy. And I would either forget to follow up, or if I did follow up, I'd forget where I left off and what I had to do or what I had to prepare. And it just totally unprofessional, right? Like who wants to do business with an idiot like that? So so I ended up building a piece of software to I was two prong, right? One was showcase that we can build software so people can see, come to us and do custom software work, or we can do custom software work for them. And two was to help me track things. And lo and behold, people asked me to actually buy that. And so I was convinced to turn it into a product, and we made it into a product, and we started selling it at like, I can't remember what it was. It was like $50 or something like that, or $99. I think it was $99. I was selling it as a license, in single user on your Mac kind of software. And it took me about 6-7 years before we could forego the consulting work and focus exclusively on product. Right, so that was like a good 6-year transition. A 6-year transition to go from consulting to product.
What was that when you started to bring on folks like a CTO, a CFO, when you made that transition to product from the services side as well?
No, that was a little bit later. I mean, I had some folks with me that were helping me with the consulting, and we kind of just evolved. Where I didn't have any C-level folks. I had kind of VP folks. So we had a VP of software engineering. We had a VP of sales and marketing, and so we had kind of that. But it was a bunch of us that had kind of evolved from those roots. And then it was a little bit after that where I didn't even have a VP of sales and marketing. No, I actually ended up recruiting that person around that time, around the product time. But I had like a sales and marketing kind of individual to help us a little bit at that point, right? In 2005, I think, is somewhere that occurred. So then later on is when we got into the kind of quote unquote C-level.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with what did that enable you to do once you started to bring on C-level folks?
So I would say that I did a lot of things wrong, because remember, we were just organically growing this business, and I hadn't, the most extensive kind of management exposure I had was in previous jobs where somebody was managing me. I was an individual contributor, right? And somebody was managing me. I didn't understand anything above a manager, really, right? So I had never done these things myself, right? And here I am trying to grow a business, and it was growing, right? And so what I did learn, so there's a couple of lessons here, important lessons. One of them was, people that are ambitious and have the drive, they will step up to the plate and always kind of learn and grow with you. And then there's the people that hit a ceiling, And when they hit the ceiling, um, you can continue to kind of like try and push them along, but it just doesn't work. Then you have to bring in somebody more capable. It is nothing, some people are not, you know, they don't want to manage people. They're great individual contributors and they don't want to manage. So I didn't learn this lesson until a little bit later, which, sometimes I'm still learning this lesson where you have to have the right people in the right places. And when you don't have that, you know, you have to have the difficult conversations. And I tend to delay those conversations. I've learned, to become better at this. But back then, I would not quite, I didn't quite know. On the technical side, I would make the call very, very quickly, very easily. But on the, sales, marketing, operations, finance, all that kind of stuff, I was not adept, right? And the way I kind of got around that is I got some coaching, right? So we got some coaches to kind of help us, and they were saying some of these things, but it didn't register. Like, you have to have the right people. I mean, I was being told this like a long time ago, and I didn't quite understand. I always thought it was like, I thought everybody was like me, like, we'll figure. I'll figure it out. I'll work extra hours. I'll go and prod this one person for questions and get some answers and so. But not everybody's like that. So not everybody has that. Um, I don't know what the word is, but that drive maybe. And so you
Yeah,
have to get the right people. So that's one of the key things I learned in that process. There's the ambitious ones that will step up and continue to grow, and then there's ones that will hit the ceiling.
Yeah, I think we all like to believe that everyone around us has that limitless potential to be able to take on any challenge, and B, the drive to do it. And the reality is that just isn't true, and that's okay. But it's really hard when we believe in the people around us to convince ourselves this person is topped out, whether it's potential or drive, they're topped out and they're doing a great job where they are.
Yeah.
But I need more, and that means we need to bring someone else in, right?
Yeah, and this is always like this is such a hard thing, especially when they've been loyal to you and they're working like super hard. It's a really difficult thing, but you got to do it, otherwise you're going to stagnate.
Yeah, and I think we've all been there and learned a hard lesson or two of I didn't move fast enough on that one.
Yes. I still learn this lesson.
I do as well. It's I have a lot of faith in people's potential and their drive, and
yeah,
and it's a lesson I have to keep reminding myself of. Now, one of the things that's great about Marketcircle is you have people all over the world doing really great work. You have a truly global company.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the executive side of things, but how did you build up a global team, and what are the priorities you keep on your scope to keep it all moving?
So, how let's get into like how it kind of happened. So a number of years ago, prior to COVID, so this is prior to COVID, we started thinking that, we're a bootstrap company. We don't have any VC funding or whatnot, and we're always, scrappy and so forth. So we're saying, okay, we need talent, and in North America or Canada or Toronto, basically, talent is expensive. So we were thinking, okay, let's start figuring out how to do remote work so that we can tap into talent in other jurisdictions that are cheaper. So we started this process of remote work, not just for that, but also as a differentiation factor, like for people coming to work for us, kind of thing. And we started with 1 day a week. We would work from home, then 2 days a week. Then we ran into all kinds of problems each time. Like we didn't realize that a bunch of processes were never documented, or we didn't have a process because we would just, shout it across the room and it would happen, right? And so that process of gradually going from fully in office to fully remote took a number of years. And we started doing Monday. We would do Tuesdays and Thursdays for a while. We would be remote. Then we did Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday right? Find out all kinds of other problems. Then we did 1 week, 1 week and 2 weeks, and like we went, and then we went to a month, and then we were doing. We got to the point where basically it was once a month we were getting together, and definitely once a quarter, right? And once a quarter we would really spend a lot of time together. And then COVID hit, right? So at the time, I was actually still going to get another office, but the purpose of the office is more sales and marketing rather than the whole operations and engineering and all that kind of stuff. Engineering we would push to remote, and then sales and marketing and so forth we would do in an office. And I was about to sign the lease for this new place, and that was the week of March 15th, 2020. And I never signed the lease because my son was in Spain, and we have to get him out of there. And I was focused on that. And I told the real estate guy, I go like, look, just hang on a couple of weeks. I got to get this guy out of there. And he said, fine, that's a good idea. And then 2 weeks later came, I said, I need a couple of weeks. The world is like turning upside down. We don't know what's happening. And he agreed with me. He goes like, you know what, let's just pause on this. And we kept pushing it 2 weeks. And then finally we never signed it. We had already told our existing landlord that we were leaving, and he had already done some deal or something like that. I don't know if it actually went through because later on the office was empty, but then we put our stuff in storage, and that was, the start of fully remote. That's how we got there. And then we've learned some really hard lessons in that, in since going fully remote.
Yeah, there's a lot to the journey for a company who wants to go remote. Hybrid, partially, fully, and I think a lot of companies give up on it when they hit the first couple of roadblocks like you hit of, oh, we don't have a written down procedure or process for this thing. Companies go, okay, that's it. We're all coming back to the office. When the problem is you just don't have something written down, you still need to do that.
Yeah, or you need to think it through and write it down sometimes. It just happens intrinsically. Yeah.
Yeah. We shouldn't solve the problem of not having solid procedures written down and documented, but right, you don't solve that. That's still a problem you've got to solve.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. You do have to solve it. And we had to really get used to it. And one of the things that everybody had to learn was over communicating, right? In Slack or wherever we were. Yeah, I think it was always Slack. Because, and there's some folks that have been, they're still with us from before. They still struggle with this, right? They don't communicate enough, and then we're wondering like, what the hell is going on, right? And we don't know what's going on. It looks like you're jacking off, but you're actually doing some work, because in the end we see it, but then we don't know. So, so this is one of the challenges that people have to overcome with, working remote.
Yeah, we've got to be focused on outputs, not engagement, right?
That's right. Well, outputs and updates, like people got to know like what's going on, and we shouldn't have to prod you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like they told us on the first day of officer training in the military, we're only going to tell you things once.
Yeah. I wish we could be that like, thing about it, but some people we have to keep reminding. The newer people that we have hired, or when we hired people after fully going remote, like, this is an expectation. You have to over communicate, and if you don't, you're out, because it can't work that way.
That's great. So besides Slack, what other tech have you adopted to help you operate fully remotely?
So Slack is a key piece. Zoom is another one. And in terms of documentation and procedures and stuff like that, we've used Confluence. As much as I don't like that tool, but it serves a purpose. And it's the tool we continue to use when we're figuring out, okay, what is the next feature we're working on? We have some documents. Like before, we would just go on the whiteboard, draw it out, kind of figure it out together, which I still long for that particular process. But now we got to put it on, we got to draw it out in some tool, put it on this this thing, get people to get feedback, remind people, hey, I need feedback on this thing before before it would just be like we're all in the boardroom or we're all in front of a whiteboard. We talk it out, we go back and forth very quickly, and something comes out. So now we have to replicate that process, and we use Confluence, and we force people to jump on Zoom or what have you. We also have the other problem, which is there's just too much asynchronous back and forth, right? And then you go, wait a minute, just pick up the phone and let's just talk this out right now, right? So that that's veering way on the other side there, where it's all async and it's slowed down because there's too much async. So those are that's the flip side. That's the other side that you got to be careful of.
Yeah, I don't think there is still a good answer yet to how do we have a whiteboard brainstorming session. And a couple of years ago, I was really excited about virtual reality and the metaverse for doing in particular those kinds of things. And I think we're just not quite there yet on it, but I'm excited. I'm excited that as the technology improves, as the headsets get lighter, that kind of thing, that we can get back to that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. This one area which what I know a number of companies have done is they just have like they'll just rent a space in a co-working space, and then they'll have that type of meeting in person, right? Problem is my staff's like all over the place, right? When I say all over the place, like it's not like I can before at the beginning we could get together because people were in the vicinity, right? But a bunch of people moved away, and then new staff that we hired in other countries, for example, right? So now getting together for a quick brainstorm session or one day or an afternoon is not pragmatic anymore.
Yeah, and one of the things I've seen, companies that I've seen who are doing full remote really successfully do put some of those in-person touch points in for company culture and camaraderie and connection reasons. What do you do at Marketcircle to put those kinds of things into the company?
So this is a really interesting thing, and we were doing events once a month. We would do like lunch together. It was still on Zoom. We would order everybody lunch. We would have lunch together. We would talk. We'd play some games and so forth, and that worked for a little while. Then we would also have once a quarter. Not everybody, but the exec team would get together, kind of thing, right? And then once a year or twice a year, we would have like a Christmas party and like an event like that where it's a day or two. Then what we found is that over time, less and less people would show up. And I don't know if some of it was the weather, right? Like we would have, for example, so we would center things. There's a Christmas party, then we'll do an extra day or whatever, and we'll do this kind of stuff. But then we'd have all kinds of storms and stuff like that, and people can't get here. So then that kind of got a loosey-goosey, and so now it's become a little bit less. Like we're still all on Zoom all the time, and we do this kind of stuff. We don't have as many of those touch points that I would like, and this is one of the things that I'm gonna have to recalibrate on because it's not great.
Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. I'm sure you'll find something that works for you. It's on your scope, and I think that's what's really important.
Yeah, and so one idea is that we do get ourselves a small office that we can start leveraging and so forth, and whoever's in around, we can do some things. So that's one idea. Another idea is just being more disciplined and just forcing the issue that you got to show up right to these events. So there's some decisions to be made there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to take a break from the business questions, the leadership questions, and play a game. Are you up for a game?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. The name of this game is Rapid Response. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I want you to respond with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean you need to give a one-word answer. Elaborate as much or as little as you'd like. We want to get to know AJ a little bit here.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. AJ, Jetha, rapid response round. Your time begins now.
All right.
Podcast recommendation.
Elixir, Thinking Elixir is my current one because of the technical challenge I'm trying to solve.
Oh, very, very cool. I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a technical one. It's not a business one at all. I wrote, depending on the kinds of problems I have, I'll be searching out different podcasts on that topic, and then I binge on them.
That's a really great approach, especially if you have a technical problem you're trying to solve.
Even business, it works for business problems too.
Yeah,
100%. Like I do the same thing. Like for example, another one that I was doing was a SaaS sales related one. I forget the names of the various podcasts, but there's like 7 or 8 of them, and I just binged, while I'm trying to understand the problem space.
I like that. I like that a lot. What is a practice you'd like to see more people embrace?
Journaling.
Do you have a regular prompt you use for journaling, or how do you do your journaling?
So I learned this. I forget where exactly I learned it, but the prompt is I ask myself question. When I have a challenge, I ask myself that question in the journal. And so, for example, how might I solve this particular problem? Or it's like I'm having a conversation. I have this challenge with this person, right? What can I do? What am I missing? What can I do about it? Like I ask myself, I write this down. I ask myself these questions, and then what happens is sometimes I get nothing. Like nothing's coming out. Like boo, right? And then the next day, I'll come back and sometimes I re-ask that same question and something does come out, right? So that process of journaling helps me center myself, right? And it also helps me. So I find that the worst state to be in is when you have no options. You have a challenge, and you have no options for like solving this problem, right? And so that's the first thing I do is I try and find options. And by having options, if I have like a challenge and I have 2 or 3 options, then my mental state is in a much, much better place. And because I'm not like, I don't know what to do. I'm not in that state, or I'm in that state for a little short period of time. And that sometimes I'll pull out my journal even in the middle of the day when I'm in one of those things, and I'll just do that same process. And most of the time, it's something, it could be gibberish and make no sense, but it helps me. And so when you have options, it's much easier to maintain a positive state versus you have no options, you get into a negative state. Once you're in that negative state, it can spiral.
That's fantastic. I think I'm going to start trying that.
Yeah, I love it. Like I recommend this to everybody. I say, if you're in any kind of leadership, any, but it doesn't have to be leadership. But typically you have these difficult challenges, and I tried the typing business, like I tried that, but it's not the same as writing. I just have to write. Maybe I'm old school.
No, I think it's important, and we all know that there's science behind when you write something down versus when you type it and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is great. You mentioned it's great for people who aren't in a leadership position. I think it is great because this is a skill, a capability you want to develop in yourself. Because if you're an individual contributor now and you're facing challenges now, I'm telling you, the challenges just get bigger and harder as you move throughout your career. So if this technique is helpful to you now, it's certainly going to be a skill to develop for the future. Yeah,
I highly recommend it. And, you don't have to be like super disciplined about it, but it is a practice that you should definitely you don't have to do it every day. Sometimes some people are like, I got to do it every day. If I don't do it every day, I can't do it. I don't do it. But no. If sometimes it's 2 days a week, 3 days a week, or to draw on that when you are in a challenge, that's fine, right? There's no hard and fast rule there. It's just you have that tool and you know how to use it.
All right, so when you're feeling like you don't have any options, pull out your journal.
That's right, and ask yourself, and you may need to ask yourself several days in a row, but it'll come.
Sounds great. Who is someone we should all be paying attention to?
Ooh. I would say people like I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, like Andrew Karpathy. And these are, right now all the rage is about AI and all this kind of stuff, and there's a lot of hype, and you need a counterbalance and some more realism to that. And so people like Andrew will, kind of give you the state of the matter in more a more realistic tone, right? A more so those kinds of folks. I don't have a lot of names there, but again, these podcasts are key here. You look them up and there'll be both sides. Like, for example, with the AI stuff, there's stuff where it's all hype, and then there's been like naysayers from the very get-go. But some of those naysayers are also too far to the other side, right? So you kind of listen. So what I tend to do is not in any one individual, but I also always try to, like, who's saying the opposite? Like, so this is what's going on right now. Who's saying the opposite, and why are they saying it? Like, what, it helps me see the whole picture, or a bit more of the picture.
Yeah, I think it's important to listen to both sides or all sides of an issue and really get into how do they come to their conclusions.
Yes, 100%.
Some of the folks who are popping the bubble a little bit on AI is they're saying, well, we had a lot of great innovation in 2022 and 2023, but the state of innovation has slowed down a little bit, and maybe that's telling us something. Yeah.
I mean, there's when you really, let's take AI as an example, and being somebody in a leadership position, right? Because you're going to be tasked with making some decisions that may accelerate your company or take it down, right? When it comes to something like that, and taking the time to understand what it actually is. So, for example, with LLMs, the algorithms are next word predictor. There is actually no logic there, and so forth. And the hallucinations are important but that's in there because if you turn down the hallucinations all the way to zero, it's like pretty much useless. So you got to give it some flexibility. And the problem is that you don't know it's a hallucination until later, right? So LLMs are non-deterministic, and LMs, so machine learning, or ML, sorry, are deterministic. And trying to understand the two is important, right? So as a leader, you do have to take the time to kind of understand these things before you make decisions. So, for example, if you're doing things that are dealing with people's lives, you don't want an LLM. You want an ML, right? And you got to understand these things.
Absolutely. I remember about halfway through engineering school, and I was taking Fourier series or some math class like that. And our professor was an adjunct, and he was in corporate America working for a big defense company, engineer at a big defense company. And he said in the very first class, because we were doing a lot of computer, not modeling, but using computer tools to do the analysis for us in this class. And he said, I'm going to teach you the most important lesson you're going to learn in engineering right now. Never walk into a meeting with your boss without looking at your plots after you take them off the printer. Right. If you're going to go in, you're going to go, here's my results. You better look at them before you show your boss, right?
That's right. Because and you got to understand them.
Yeah. And that's the same advice I think is really applicable to living in the AI in this AI generation.
100%.
Just look at it before you go show it to somebody else.
Yeah. And see, like you'll notice when you do it. Like, we use AI in our in our software and stuff like that. And you'll notice that while it is very helpful, it's not accurate by any means, right? And so you would really need to be cognizant of that. Like, it's one thing to think that, hey, this is what's coming out of there is great and excellent, and it's another thing, and deriving your behavior based on that. But it's another thing when you realize, okay, this is it's very helpful in this, but it's faulty, and so therefore I need to check that part before I make any big decisions or a presentation end up looking like a fool in front of your boss.
Yeah, what's the old George Box quote? All models are wrong, some models are useful.
Yeah, that's right.
So, all right, well, back to our game. This has been Tech Chat. What's your go-to song to get pumped up, or your walk-on music?
So I have a playlist that I have accumulated over the years. It's mostly electronic trance, so there's no lyrics or anything like that. And I don't remember the names, but I have this playlist. It's a short playlist, and there's like 7 or 8 songs in there. I don't remember the names, but that's what that's my pump me up kind of playlist.
All right, that's great. Who is the biggest influence in your life?
Oh. Personally or business-wise?
Either or.
Okay, so business-wise, Steve Jobs. And personally, I would say my sister, the one that raised me. Yeah,
it's funny. We get a lot of that answer of it's a family member, it's my parents, it's my kids, it's an inspirational family member, and then there's also usually like a business inspiration as well.
Yeah.
What is a book everyone should read?
Oh, okay. There's a few. I have a few of those.
Okay.
So This Is Lean is always one of my favorite books, and it's a small book about the efficiency paradox. I recommend that to any business leader. And then, so that's on that particular front. On the personal development front, there's a few books. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Old book, but I feel that it there's a lot of really good lessons there. Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. The Magic of Thinking Big. You could see my bookshelf here. There's a lot of them. I forget all the titles.
Yeah, Win Friends and Influence People is a classic. I think we're coming up on almost 100 years of that now.
Is it that? Okay, it's a great book.
It is. It's been a couple years. I need to crack it open again and refresh myself.
Yeah, my copy's starting to fall apart.
Best autumn recreational activity in Canada?
I like hiking. And so when the leaves, the colors are turning and all that, it's gorgeous. Or even forget the hike, you could go driving around. Those are the two things I love to do this time of year.
Okay. Your dream vacation spot?
Ooh. So there's two types. So any kind of beach where, so when I'm stressed out and I gotta take a break, send me to the beach somewhere like Cancun or something like that. But if you were to say, okay, well, what kind of other place would you like to go without your family, just by myself, would be, like the going to see the pyramids, going to see that kind of stuff, because it's always fascinated me even from when I was a kid. So that's one of the things that I would do. And then the family, it's typically south of Spain or Italy kind of place.
All great choices. What is a trend you're excited about?
What is a trend I'm excited about? Back to realism in some cases. Like I'm seeing this trend where it's like, we've had a lot of, like, for example, remote, what we were talking about, remote, and then now there's like, okay, well, what about hybrid? What about this? So that kind of, and then there's like the AI, and then like, okay, wait a minute, we understand now that there's certain limitations. It's not going to actually replace people per se, right? So that I that's a trend that I'm actually excited about. I always get really like frustrated when the hype cycle, whatever it was before, it was blockchain and whatnot. It's just like it's going to solve all the problems of the world. No, it's not. So let's get realistic.
I like that a lot. Last one: favorite sports team or player?
Ooh, so favorite sports team would be FC Barcelona, and player would be Messi. That's an easy one. There's others.
Well, that's great. Thank you for playing our game.
Thank you.
So you talked a little bit earlier about being a survivor of the original .com boom and bust 25 years. Hard to believe it was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
What other parallels do you see between the .com bust back then and where we are today?
Ooh, good question. Good question. So the parallels I see is, a ton of investment getting put into various companies, valuations going up the roof for what seems like no reason, right? So those two things, I'm seeing the same pattern. We saw it also back in the blockchain, crypto stuff, right? So you see, there's the hype cycle. I think the Gartner has this graph or whatever. We're totally seeing that with AI right now.
Yeah, I think
the question is we don't know when the like it's starting, like again, we're talking about the realism stuff. People are starting to clue in as to what this AI, the current set of AI technologies are good for and not good for.
Yeah, I think I've seen that Gartner report, and I think that's where I've started getting the takeaway of the pace of innovation is slowing, and that could be telling us something.
Yeah. We haven't seen so that breakthrough, which was a transformer, I think came in 2016 or 2018, and since then we have had no real breakthroughs in terms of the AI tech, right? So it's just now we've hit almost the ceiling, and it's just incremental improvements.
Absolutely. One of the things that's really important to me when I get to talk to someone like you who's built a successful tech company, made it global, remotely working, you come from a tech background yourself. You said you were doing a lot of the coding for the software in the early days. I'm always curious, how do we prepare our young engineers and developers to become the CTOs we need for the future?
So I think when it comes to something like CTO, a lot of it is people skills. A lot of it, and those hard people skills, like who to get rid of, who to hire, when people hit their ceilings, etc. How to keep people in check and accountable and so forth, right? So at that layer. But if you talk about technology in general, I think that unlike before, right? Maybe this has been true for a while. You kind of have to pick your area and become really good at it, and then evolve from that. Because, like, let's say right now, if we're doing our infrastructure or what have you, there's just like so much decisions you got to make, and you can't do this off the cuff. You as you get to the CTO level and the size of the company, etc. Right? Like when I say CTO, you're running a team of at least 30, 40, 50 people minimum, right? It could be hundreds, if not thousands, right? So you got to really know yourself, and you can never pigeonhole yourself either, right? Like you cannot go by the thing like, hey, this technology is the best, forget all the rest. You can't do that, right? And so you got to always keep an open mind. So I think that's the important part, because in order for you to be productive and earn a living in the early stages, you got to be good at one area, right? And you zone in, you focus in, you're productive. A company has a problem, you can solve it because that's the realm that you're in. But then once you elevate yourself beyond that, you can't keep that mentality, that tunnel mentality, right? You gotta expand and look at all the other sides of it and at least grasp it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a real paradox for young people right now because they do need to specialize. They need to become really good at something to get started. But then you've
Yeah,
got guys like me who are saying, yes, that's great. You should do that. But also, you need to be aware of what's going on around you. You need to be aware of the problems that the rest of your company has, the challenges in your industry. And
yeah,
I think it can be confusing for young people. But I'm glad to hear you say that yes, specialize, but you've also got to be aware of what's going on around you.
yeah. You do like it's hard to make money as a generalist, because why am I hiring you, right? I'm hiring you because I need to solve problems. Or actually, the no, hang on. Let's zoom out a little bit. The key thing to learn as a young, and I'm thinking about what I tell my son is you got to be a problem solver, right? Whether you're in the people space, like he's more on the sales marketing side than the engineering side. That's his bent. Um, doesn't matter. You got to be a problem solver. And a problem solver always thinks about the root causes. It needs to get to the root causes of whatever is ailing whatever side of the business that you're in. And you can't just take surface level. So this is true in tech, this is true in all of them. And then so you got to be, first and foremost, you got to have that mentality that you got to be a problem solver and get to the root of the problem. And then secondly, then you got to specialize a little bit.
Love it. So what's coming up for you in Marketcircle in the next few months?
So we're the one of the things that we have done recently is add, in terms of our Daylight application, the native app, we've added mail functionality. Before we were integrating with Apple Mail, but then being subject to their whims and changes, we were always chasing things over there. So we decided that we're going to bring that in-house. So we have all our quote unquote CRM stuff, the calendar, the task, all that stuff, and now we have mail. And so that's the big thing for us. It's been a heavy lift, and we've been slowly getting it out. More and more of our customers are using it. It's been a few months now, but in the next few weeks, one quote unquote 1.0 will be, it's never 1.0, but it never ends. There's always going to be improvements. So that's one of them. And then we have more integrations coming down the pipe in terms of our product. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening, and there's, of course, like, okay, how are we leveraging AI in all of this?
Well, congratulations on all of that. It sounds really exciting. Looking forward to hearing how it turns out for you. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with before we wrap it up?
No, not really. I think this was a great conversation. I think it was a whole bunch of great questions. Those are good, and just biggest thing is never despair. Always have an option, and use that journal to get some options.
Do that journal. Great advice. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, AJ. Where can everyone find you so they can also thank you for coming on the show?
There's two places. Our website, daylight.app, so DAYLITE.app. And then you can find me, my full name, on LinkedIn.
All right, great. We will link
Those are the two places I hang out.
Yep. We'll link all that up in the episode description of the show notes so you guys don't have to go look that up yourselves. AJ, thanks again for joining us. I want to thank
you for having me on.
I want to thank all of you for watching and listening. If you found this conversation valuable, go ahead and share it with someone who can use it. Leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you're on a podcast platform, you can leave a review. We would love it if you'd leave us a 5-star review so we can build our audience and get these great conversations with folks like AJ out to more and more people. We have a lot more amazing leaders coming your way. So go out there, do great things today. Onward and upward.